Poor mechanic rescues girl from chained to a tree, only to discover she's a celebrity's daughter. The late afternoon sun cast a golden glow over the quiet town of Oak Ridge, a small place where everyone knew each other and secrets rarely lasted long. Noah Carter, a 32-year-old mechanic, had just closed up his garage for the day. His hands were covered in oil, his back sore from hours hunched under cars, but his heart was warm with a simple kind of contentment. Life hadn't been kind to him. He had grown up in foster care, never knowing who his real parents were, and now lived alone in a tiny trailer just outside of town. He had very little, but enough to get by, and a loyal dog named Rusty who greeted him every evening without fail. As he drove down the winding dirt road leading to his trailer, Noah slowed when he noticed something strange near the woods that bordered his land. A flicker of movement. A small shape. He parked his truck and stepped out, squinting through the trees. At first, he thought it was an animal, maybe a deer caught in something. But as he walked closer, the scene made his heart drop. There, beneath the shadow of an old maple tree, was a young girl. Her wrists and ankles were chained to the thick trunk. Her long hair was tangled, her clothes torn and muddy, and her face pale with fear. She couldn't have been more than 8 or 9 years old. Noah's chest tightened as he rushed toward her, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. She flinched at first, her eyes wide with panic, but she didn't cry out. She was too tired, too weak. Without a second thought, Noah dropped to his knees and began inspecting the chains. They were tight, leaving red marks on her skin. Whoever had done this had meant for her to stay put. Thankfully, Noah always kept tools in his truck. He ran back, grabbed a pair of bolt cutters, and returned. It took several minutes and a lot of effort, but he finally broke the chains and freed the girl. Her legs trembled as she stood, and Noah gently scooped her into his arms. He brought her to his trailer and did his best to clean her wounds. She didn't speak a word, just sat on the couch clutching a blanket he had wrapped around her. He offered her soup, and though she didn't eat much, she did manage a few spoonfuls. His dog, Rusty, lay quietly beside her, sensing her fear and offering comfort. The girl eventually fell asleep sitting up, her head leaning against the worn couch cushions, the blanket pulled up to her chin. Noah couldn't sleep that night. He kept looking over at the small figure on his couch, wondering who she was and how she had ended up like that. He thought of going to the police, but something in his gut told him to wait. This didn't feel like a random kidnapping. Her clothes, though dirty, were high quality. Her fingernails were trimmed. Someone had cared for her, and not too long ago. But someone else had also chained her to a tree in the middle of nowhere. The next morning, he made pancakes. The girl woke up to the smell, still heavy with sleep. He placed a plate in front of her and simply said, "Eat what you can." She nodded and took a few bites. After breakfast, Noah tried gently asking her name. She hesitated, then whispered, "Luna." It was the first word she had spoken. Her voice was soft, scared, but there was something calm about her. He asked if she remembered where she lived, but she shook her head. When he asked who did this to her, her lip trembled, and tears filled her eyes. He didn't push further. He decided to let her rest and stepped outside to think. That's when he noticed something strange. A black SUV slowly driving past his property. It didn't belong to anyone he knew in Oak Ridge. The tinted windows made it impossible to see who was inside. The car paused briefly, then drove on. Noah's instincts flared. Someone was looking for something or someone. He walked back inside and made sure all the doors were locked. As the day passed, Luna grew a little more comfortable. She let Noah comb the tangles out of her hair and even smiled faintly when Rusty laid his head on her lap. But the smile didn't last long. That evening, while flipping through channels, Noah stopped at a news report. A picture flashed on the screen, a little girl with the same dark eyes, the same wavy brown hair. The headline read, "Famous actress Isabella Ray offers reward for missing daughter." Noah stared at the screen, then at Luna. There was no doubt. She was the same girl. The celebrity in question, Isabella Ray, was one of the most famous faces in the world, movies, billboards, interviews. Her daughter had been missing for 2 weeks, and no one had found a trace. Until now. Noah's heart pounded. He looked at Luna again. She had curled up on the couch, hugging Rusty close. Could it really be her? A child from another world, dropped into his quiet life like a storm? And if she was Isabella Ray's daughter, why had she been chained to a tree in the middle of nowhere? He needed answers. But more than that, he needed to protect Luna, no matter what. He had seen the SUV. Someone was already looking, and they might not have good intentions. Noah couldn't stop thinking about the news report. It was Luna, without a doubt. The same eyes, same smile, though now dimmed by fear and confusion. The story said Isabella Ray's daughter had vanished without a trace from her private school in Los Angeles. Cameras had stopped working that night, and there were no witnesses. A few people had been questioned, but nothing had come of it. The media had speculated everything from a runaway case to an inside job. Now, somehow, she had ended up chained to a tree miles away from any city, on the edge of Noah's small town in the middle of nowhere. He felt a chill down his spine, wondering what kind of people were capable of doing something so cruel to a child, especially one from such a high-profile family. The next few days passed in a strange mix of normalcy and tension. Noah didn't go back to the garage. He stayed home with Luna, teaching her how to cook simple things, watching cartoons, trying to make her feel safe. She began talking a little more, though never about what had happened. She said she missed her mom but didn't ask to call her. She didn't trust easily, and Noah understood. Whoever had taken her had shattered something inside her. Her voice still trembled when she spoke, and she kept flinching at sudden noises. But when Rusty lay beside her, she would pet his fur gently, and sometimes even giggle when he made his funny sleepy noises. It was in those tiny moments Noah saw glimpses of the child she used to be. He kept an eye on the road and noticed the black SUV appeared again. This time, it didn't drive by slowly. It parked farther down, behind some trees, as if trying not to be seen. Noah didn't confront them. He didn't have weapons, and he didn't know who he was up against. Instead, he made sure Luna stayed inside and kept the curtains closed. He wondered if the police could help, but deep down, something told him this wasn't a case for the local sheriff. These people were careful, powerful, maybe even connected to whoever had taken her in the first place. The SUV wasn't looking for justice. It was looking to clean up a secret. Late one night, while Luna was asleep, Noah sat at the kitchen table, staring at the newspaper clipping he had printed from the news site. It showed Isabella Ray standing in front of a sea of reporters, holding a tear-streaked photo of her daughter. Her face looked hollowed by grief. Noah couldn't understand how someone could take a child from a mother like that. He didn't know what Isabella's world was like. All fame, cameras, luxury, but he could feel the pain in her eyes, even through the screen. She hadn't stopped looking. She hadn't given up. That meant something. Noah realized then that keeping Luna hidden might not be enough. He had to figure out what really happened and get her back to someone who truly loved her. The next morning, Luna was more quiet than usual. She sat by the window, staring out at the woods. When Noah asked if she was okay, she nodded, but there was sadness in her eyes. It wasn't just fear anymore, it was longing. Later, she found a photo on Noah's shelf, one of him as a boy, standing outside the old group home where he had grown up. She asked if that was his home, and he told her yes, but it had never felt like one. She asked if he had a mom or dad, and he shook his head. She said she remembered her mom's perfume, how it smelled like flowers and sunshine. Noah felt something break inside him. Luna wasn't just lost. She was holding on to fading memories like they were the only pieces of herself she had left. Noah decided to take a chance. He drove into town and went to the library, using the public computer to research more about the case. He found articles that said Isabella had hired private investigators, even gone to dangerous places trying to find her daughter. One article mentioned a theory about a stalker who had been following Isabella for years, someone obsessed not just with her but with her family. Noah also found a website run by a group of online sleuths who were tracking the case. One post said Luna might have been taken by people trying to hurt Isabella through her child. The theory was that it wasn't about ransom or money, it was about control, punishment, or revenge. That made sense to Noah. Luna hadn't been held in a fancy house or hidden away in a foreign country. She had been chained to a tree in the woods, like someone wanted her to disappear forever. Back home, he kept thinking about what to do. Luna was warming up to him, but he knew keeping her wasn't right. She needed her mother. But handing her over without knowing who to trust could be dangerous. He didn't want her to fall back into the hands of the people who had taken her in the first place. That night, after dinner, Luna finally spoke about the tree. She said the man who brought her there didn't say anything. He wore black gloves and a mask. He didn't hurt her, but he was cold. She remembered the sound of a phone ringing while he chained her up. She said she heard the words, "Make sure no one finds her," before he walked away. That was all she remembered before it got dark and she fell asleep against the tree. Noah listened carefully, each word confirming what he already feared. This wasn't a simple kidnapping. This was a message, a punishment, maybe even a warning. Luna had been thrown away like a piece of evidence. He realized then that she was only safe for as long as no one knew where she was. But now someone did. The SUV. The careful watching. They were waiting to see what he would do. If he went to the police, maybe they'd disappear. If he contacted the wrong person, Luna might vanish again. Noah couldn't take that chance. The next day, a new car arrived. Not the SUV. This one was sleek, dark blue, and too clean for a country road. It stopped at the end of the driveway, and a woman stepped out, dressed in a black coat, sunglasses hiding her eyes. She didn't knock. She stood there, calm, as if she knew someone was watching. Noah stayed inside, watching from the crack in the curtain. The woman stood still for a full minute, then placed an envelope on the ground, turned around, and left. The car drove away in silence. Noah waited until it was safe, then went outside and picked up the envelope. Inside was a single photo of him and Luna, taken from behind as they sat on the porch the day before. There was also a note, typed in clean block letters. She does not belong to you. Stay out of what you don't understand. Noah's hands clenched. This was a warning, a threat. They had eyes on him, and they weren't afraid to show it. He looked over at Luna, now napping on the couch, Rusty curled at her feet. He had tried to stay out of trouble his whole life. But this time, he had someone to protect. He couldn't walk away. Noah decided it was time to do more than hide. He needed help, real help, but only from someone he could trust. Not the police, not strangers. Maybe Isabella Ray herself. She had the resources, the reach, and more importantly, she had the right to know her daughter was alive. He just needed to find a way to reach her without tipping off the wrong people. And he had to do it fast, because whoever was behind Luna's disappearance wasn't going to wait forever. The next morning came with a heavy sky, clouds hanging low as if the world itself was holding its breath. Noah stood outside, looking over the hills beyond his trailer, trying to gather the courage to do what he knew had to be done. Luna was inside, still asleep, her small body curled against Rusty like she belonged there. But this wasn't her home, and Noah couldn't protect her forever, not alone. He remembered something from one of the articles he had read about Isabella Ray, a charity she ran for missing children. It had a public email address and a contact form. He grabbed his old phone, the screen cracked but still working, and sat down at the kitchen table. His fingers hovered over the screen before he started typing. He didn't give his full name. He didn't explain everything. He only wrote what mattered. I know where your daughter is. She's alive. She's safe. But someone is watching us. If you really want her back, come alone. Come quietly. Don't bring the media. Don't bring the police. I'll be waiting. He included the name of a park just outside town, a quiet spot near the lake, and the next day's date. Then he hit send and prayed he hadn't just made the worst mistake of his life. The next 24 hours were tense. Noah didn't leave the property. He kept Luna close and tried not to show her how worried he was. She was talking more now, drawing pictures, even laughing once or twice. She didn't ask questions about her mom or about going home. It was like she had accepted that this small trailer, this quiet man, and this dog were her new world. And that made what Noah had to do even harder. That night, he couldn't sleep. Every creak of the wind against the trailer made him jump. At one point, he swore he saw movement in the woods, but when he shone his flashlight, there was nothing. Whoever was watching them was good at staying hidden. He just had to hold on a little longer. When morning came, the sun broke through the clouds at last. Noah packed a small bag for Luna. Some food, a change of clothes, and the pictures she had drawn. He didn't tell her what was happening, only that they were going for a drive. She smiled and nodded, holding Rusty's leash in one hand. He drove slowly, taking back roads, checking his mirrors every few minutes. No black SUVs. No strange cars. Just winding trees and the sound of the radio humming low. When they reached the lake, Noah parked near the edge and sat on a bench with Luna beside him. The water sparkled in the morning light, and birds sang in the trees like nothing was wrong. But Noah's heart beat fast, waiting. He kept looking toward the path, wondering if she would come. It was nearly an hour before he saw her. A woman in a simple gray sweater, jeans, and dark sunglasses, walking alone along the dirt path. Even dressed plainly, there was no mistaking her. Isabella Ray, the woman whose face the world knew, whose grief had filled television screens for weeks. She looked thinner than in the photos, her shoulders slightly hunched, her steps cautious. She stopped when she saw them, her hands trembling. Noah stood slowly, motioning for Luna to stay. He walked forward just enough to meet her halfway. She removed her sunglasses, and in her eyes, he saw everything: hope, fear, pain, disbelief. He nodded once and turned back toward the bench. Luna looked up, confused at first, then froze. Her eyes widened as she stared at the woman. Something clicked in her expression, like a puzzle piece falling into place. She whispered, "Mom," and Isabella ran forward, dropping to her knees, wrapping her arms around her daughter. Luna didn't cry. She held on tight, silent tears rolling down her cheeks as she buried her face in her mother's shoulder. Noah turned away, giving them the moment they both deserved. They stayed like that for a long time, the sound of the lake lapping at the shore behind them. Eventually, Isabella looked up at Noah, her voice quiet and raw, thanking him over and over. He told her he didn't want thanks. He just wanted Luna to be safe. She asked how he had found her, what had happened, but Noah didn't have answers, only that she had been left in the woods, alone, and that people were still watching. Isabella's face darkened when he mentioned the SUV, the photo, the envelope. She said she had suspected someone close to her, someone from her inner circle, a business partner, a man who had always been too interested in her daughter. She had hired people to look into it, but the trail had gone cold. Now, with Luna back, everything had changed. She promised to keep her daughter hidden, protected, and to quietly bring in trusted investigators to uncover the truth. Noah handed her the small bag and the drawings Luna had made. He didn't say much else. He felt like a piece of him was breaking away as he watched them walk back toward Isabella's car. Luna turned and waved once, holding tightly to her mother's hand. Rusty let out a small whine, sensing the shift. And then they were gone, swallowed by the road, the trees, and the world that had nearly lost them. Back at the trailer, the silence felt heavier than before. Noah sat on the steps with Rusty at his feet, staring out at the woods. For a few days, the world had felt different. He had found someone who needed him, and he had been enough. Now he was just a mechanic again, a man with calloused hands and an old truck. But deep down, he knew he had done something that mattered. Maybe no one else would know. Maybe it wouldn't make the news. But he had saved a little girl, and maybe a mother too. That was enough. 2 weeks later, a package arrived. No return address, but inside was a letter written in elegant handwriting. It was from Isabella. She said Luna was doing better every day. She had started talking again, drawing again. She even asked to send Rusty a treat. Tucked inside the envelope was a dog biscuit and a photo of Luna smiling beside her mother, holding up one of her drawings. There was also a check, large enough to change Noah's life, but with a note saying, "Only use it if you ever need to keep someone else safe." He placed the check in a drawer, unsure if he'd ever touch it. That night, he stood on his porch again, the stars above twinkling faintly through the cool night sky. Rusty barked once at a passing car, then settled back down. The trailer creaked softly in the wind. Everything was quiet again. But no one knew, in some part of the world, a mother had her child back, and a little girl no longer woke up in fear. And that, more than anything, made the silence feel just a little less empty.